Hey everybody, it has been a while since I've done a garden update, so let's show you around. First off, I'm going to show you this. Just harvested today another container worth of blackberries and harvested 4 cups on Saturday with family and had a cobbler made out of that, so that was good. What you're going to see here as I show you is several things I'm doing to try to deter some stuff. So, there's different opinions out there about the cardboard thing, but I'm doing some cardboard. If you'll remember, and you can see it there, all the grass clippings are there, which has been keeping the weeds down some, but there's still growth. The reason why I'm trying the cardboard is, one, it can hopefully deter the weeds even more. I got several different ways I'm going to be doing it. I've basically pulled the weeds out underneath these, and then what you can see is I've added brambles. I think it was Hugh Richards on his YouTube channel talked about adding brambles, which this is just blackberry. They got thorns there if you look closely. And if you put those around your plants, a little bit away from them, it can deter slugs and other critters that want to get in. The other thing I'm hoping it's going to deter whatever continues to think that my garden is a litter box / restroom, trying to figure out. So hopefully the thorns will also serve that purpose for keeping some type of mammal out. There is potato plant. That's from 3 years ago when I first planted potatoes here. It's somewhat shady, so they come up a little later, but I keep missing potatoes somewhere. They come up every year, so that's been kind of nice. You got some lettuce there. You got beet greens that can be used for lettuce there. AC kicked on, so you may hear a little more noise. Got some more lettuce here. It's getting warmer. Here's the kale. Now, that is kale after 50 to 60% of the plants have been removed. If you look closely, you'll see that there's multiple plants. They're producing massively. I've gotten rid of a lot. Something has been getting into some of them. I don't think you'll see too much of it on what's left. I think kale's probably going to make it. Yeah, there's one example of what was there. Something is getting into them, so I don't know if it's slugs or what. Kale is, I'm guessing it's probably going to make it because it's fairly hardy. The different varieties out there can survive a lot of weather extremes, cold and hot, so we'll just see. Hopefully they'll survive. If not, I'll do a fall planting. Here was some radishes. They didn't do too well. I've just thrown some cardboard down trying to kill the weeds. Some of the strawberries from last year are still there. And then that's strawberries that remained and spread from what's been there for a long time. They were planted right about here originally about 3 years ago, and as you see all the strawberries all over, they all came from 3 little tiny plants right there in that spot about 4 years ago, first garden. Back here is in need of some desperate weeding. There's some kale, there's some lettuce, there's kale over there. There's some weeds as well. There's some wildflowers and weeds, and there's a lot of small radishes down in there. So I'm going to clean this out fairly soon, and probably not too long before I start doing the second planting of the summer to get, kind of stagger your harvest that way. It's a little bit late, but it'll probably do fine. Here you'll see some onions. This one's on the ground, but this onion's been here for a couple years. I've not had a lot of success with onions, and so I'm going to try again, but that is the second year when it goes to seed. You can see this one is standing up. So I've already taken the head off of one, and I'm trying to wait a little longer because this should be where the seeds come from. So I'm trying to keep an eye on them. And then those, I believe, are turnip greens that came at some point here recently up from what was there over the winter, I believe. So that's kind of interesting. Not too many weeds, but there are some weeds there, and there's some wildflowers that have died down. Time to pull those wild daisies or whatever they are up. Potatoes in a pot, doing okay, but have withered some with the heat and crazy stuff. This cabbage is doing really good. That cabbage is a little small, but it's not doing too bad. Got a few brambles you can see around the edges to try to keep away whatever's nibbling at the edges. Over here, the potato patch did not do super well. There's still some potatoes using the lazy man's method of just dig a hole and plop them in. So you'll see some potato plants that need some weeding, but like right there, get that weed out of the way, this is a potato plant. But I think it's having a hard time because it's competing with the grass and stuff there using that lazy method. Peppers, somebody gave me a bunch of green peppers, different varieties, sweet peppers, and I've put them here. They get a fair amount of sun. And you can already see there are some peppers there. Now these were plopped in the ground a week I think last week, and you can see they're already starting to produce, so that's pretty cool. Won't be too long till there's some green peppers coming. Again, sweet peppers, because I don't do the spice. And you can see I have blackberry bramble around pretty much almost the entire edge to try to keep out both mammals and, you know, bugs that would want to come. The grass has been working fairly well there overall, keeping the weeds down, all things considered. Now over here is the tomatoes. Now the tomatoes, as you can see, these were just pruned not long ago, so there's about 50% probably has been removed. So they were much bushier. They've been pruned to try to get rid of the suckers and get them to trellis better, easier to harvest. The Roma, which are the ones I bought, you can see are already getting ready to produce. It will not be long until those start to ripen. And then somebody, again, gave me a bunch of, I believe they're bigger boy tomatoes, and so they're all over here. They haven't started to produce yet, but they're getting big, and it won't be super long. There's some more peppers. Now, these are the peppers I planted a while back, and I don't see really any peppers on there yet, but there's starting to be some flowers, so it won't be long. Here are more peppers that were given to me, planted at the same time as what's over there. So you can see the difference in size of peppers versus they've been in the ground for probably 2.5, I think around Mother's Day, so you know it's almost 2 months. These have been in the ground about a week from seedlings that somebody gave me. They're a little bit bigger, but not a ton bigger than when I first got them. Here is more cabbage, and I've put more brambles around these because something, as you can see, is getting in. I've already broken off some of the leaves before. Haven't really harvested any cabbage yet, but that's been an issue. That third one I may just have to end up pulling because it's probably too close to really produce. But something's getting into them. I'm hoping the brambles will be effective. I've tried cinnamon, I've tried cayenne pepper, because those are also supposed to, if it's a cat that's using my garden as a litter box. Cinnamon's supposed to be something the cats don't like, but that's apparently a lie because it did not work. And cayenne pepper hasn't worked, and I've tried some other things too, so hopefully the new stuff has. Here you'll see peas. They did not do that well. They started to brown up, they died up. I did get several seed pods off though, and yeah, there's another one. I'm hopeful that I can harvest some seed from these, so I'm drying those. If I remember, I may show you some other stuff I'm drying for seed in the shed, because seed collection is something I did last year. This year, I want to focus a lot more on preservation, so I'm probably going to get a lot of tomatoes, how to preserve those. I'm going to show you zucchini and squash. I'm going to probably get a lot of those, so zucchini bread and other stuff. I want to figure out how to try to preserve that. And then I'm also probably going to have a lot of kale once it kicks back up, because it's just been growing nuts, even though I just cut a bunch off. So maybe try kale chips or something instead of just putting it in salads. Here are the strawberries transplanted this year. They're doing well. They've already produced, probably done for the year. They may produce again a little bit at some point near the fall, but it's probably not likely. Weeds have stayed pretty much down for the most part, using this just using this wood chip mulch I put down last year during the pandemic. And you can see there's some little maple trees or sycamore or something growing in here, and some grass, but overall it's done well. There's a blackberry transplanted this year. It's not produced any berries and probably won't, but it's doing fairly well. You can also see there that there is a lot of sticks from the yard, just throwing those on to kind of create more natural mulch. Here's the parsley plant planted last year. It's really starting to grow. There's a little caterpillar there. Not sure that's too good. Let's flick that off. I don't know if it's going to start producing seed or what. It doesn't really have much parsley near the base anymore. There's a flower planted from last year, and something is eating it, but it's grown a lot. It came back. These are supposed to be wildflowers I planted a while back, but they have yet to bloom. And there are some small morning glories along the back. I think that's what this is. The other stuff I pretty much know and have known for a long time. It's weeds. I need to pull that out and try to do something to keep that down. But I'm pretty sure this is morning glory. I've struggled to get those to grow, but I'd like to trellis those kind of up the fence because they're a little more viney. Now this is a squash plant. It's not doing super well. I think it's too shady in this area, is my guess. And there's a lot of seed I tried here for different things. A lot of it's not been successful. There's another wildflower, I think, of some kind. But I have put some more tomatoes here. Now, the benefit of putting some tomatoes here is they don't get a lot of sun. is true. They get some of the sun, but they're going to produce longer because of where they are. So they're good, and they're also a very good companion plant to the asparagus, which is what all this is. The asparagus crowns, I think they were like a year old, bought those, and they've been doing well. So asparagus is going to take 2-3 years to be able to actually harvest, but it's a good companion plant, and it's doing well filling that space. There's a little bit of carrots here. I think my carrot seed was getting old because a lot of it didn't germinate. There's some carrots, and there's also like a bunch of volunteer tomatoes. I think this is where I threw all the seed I tried to preserve last year, and I wasn't sure I preserved it correctly based on what I've heard since. So I just kind of threw it out to sea, and I think this was where I put it, and it's germinating, so we'll just kind of leave that and see. Rose bush transplanted from last year, hasn't bloomed yet, but seems to still be doing pretty good overall. Go back this way, the mint has done real well. I've done one harvest already and dried it and put it in a pretty well sealed container, spearmint and peppermint. You can see mint is here, and there's another tomato plant. They're kind of all over the place that I just tried to grow seed and throw some of the seed out because it will go bad after too long. And then I see here a bunch of this. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but it's not a weed. I know I threw a lot of chamomile out here, but I'm not so sure that's the chamomile. Chamomile's kind of like almost a daisy, and I got to learn how to make tea out of it, but that may be what that is. I'm not exactly sure. So I need to pull some of the other weeds and let it grow. This is probably going to keep being a lot of mint, because mint just kind of spreads. You can see all different clumps, and all that was transplanted from up along the fence where the strawberries currently are. So there's some daylilies, which some of the stuff I'm reading says that that's grown as a vegetable in like Asia. So I don't know, just they're like weeds here. Here is a squash plant I transplanted from up there by the fence. Put it here under this tree. I'm hoping to grow it and kind of get it up on that little, if you can see it, I don't know how well you can see it in the video, that little metal frame and produce more there. It's either squash or zucchini, I can't really tell right now, but if it grows and gets bigger, it's going to help keep a lot of these weeds down is the plan. So over here you can see the mammoth sunflowers. Have not bloomed yet, but they're doing pretty good. Something's eaten some of them, but they're overall, I'd say, doing really well. And I was reading about how sunflowers put something in the soil. It's almost toxic to a lot of other plants, and as you can see, if you can see on the video, there's not a ton of weeds. There's some grass of some kind, but it has pretty much done pretty well there. Now here, there's some squash intermixed in this, and so I'm not sure the squash are going to survive, but there's watermelon and cantaloupe all throughout here, and that's primarily watermelon that you're seeing, and it's just taken off the last week and a half. They were really, really small, like just maybe twice the size of my hand, and they've just taken off with all the heat we had and now all the rain, so that's going to be good. And you can see here, I'm starting to put some frames there, if you see that metal. The hope is to trellis up, like I've woven this through and thrown some cardboard down there to try to keep some weeds down behind it, but I'm hoping I can get the watermelon and then the cantaloupe and the melons to go up there. And I was seeing on Pinterest and in some books how you can do this. You can trellis it up, and then if it was to produce a watermelon here, you can tie a piece of cheesecloth or semi-flexible fabric on there to kind of cradle it. Tie a piece of fabric that kind of cradles the melon like this, and by tying the corners off, almost like a hammock, and it's a way to grow more vertically. And what I'm going to show you next is what's been doing very well. I've already harvested one zucchini, and I got more zucchini and squash in the queue, but here it is. Here is the corn, the mini corn field. Yeah, you can see that there, the mini corn field.